What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, coming at you with my hands-on and first impressions video of the Samsung Galaxy A13. Now, this device is 4G LTE only, and there is a separate phone called the A13 5G that does support 5G networks. Now, in the US at least, not only have we had the A13 5G for sale for quite a while, but we now have the regular A13 available as well. So I definitely find it to be interesting that we're getting all these various options, and certainly the A13 4G LTE is meant to be at least one slot lower than the A13 5G. Now stay tuned for a future video, as I will be comparing this phone to that phone. Now, if you are curious about the most up-to-date pricing and availability for the Samsung Galaxy A13, then definitely take a look at the various links in the video description, as I'm sure that will be changing as time goes on. Now, with the Samsung Galaxy A13, we have a very large 6.6-inch display, and this display does feature Corning Gorilla Glass 5, so it does make it extra durable, which is really nice. Now, the actual display technology that we have here is PLS LCD, and it is a 1080p display, which I do find to be especially impressive. Considering that this is a very low-end device from Samsung, I'm honestly not really expecting a whole lot with this phone. But again, having a 1080p display is a nice touch there, and we are getting a PPI of 400 with the device, a 20:9 aspect ratio, so a more narrow but taller form factor, and we're getting an 83.2% screen-to-body ratio. Now, in general, the design that we're getting here with this phone is pretty typical, and I've seen this with tons of different devices, not only from Samsung, but other Android manufacturers. Having this water drop notch up top and the slightly thicker bottom bezel certainly doesn't really bring anything new here, but at the same time, this is a pretty practical design, and I do at least appreciate that the display itself is very large, as that does make this phone really good for content consumption. Whether you want to read an ebook or go on a website and read an article, or just scroll through social media in general, having such a large canvas at 6.6 inches does make this device pretty useful. Now up top here, we do have an 8 megapixel front-facing camera, and stay tuned for my full review video of this device, as I'll be showing you a variety of different photo and video samples from all the various cameras on the phone. Now, as far as the internal storage goes, in the US, this device does feature 32 gigabytes. I believe in other regions, there are options for 64 and 128 as well. And no matter which model of the device you end up getting, you will at least get microSD card expansion, so that will allow you to offload photos and videos, for example, to free up some space on the phone. Now, there's no wireless charging here with the A13, but we do have a fingerprint sensor on the power button. So let's give that a try right now. And that's pretty fast and responsive. One more time. There we go. So it certainly does work. I'm glad it's there. And in addition to that, this device also gives us face unlock. So I do appreciate that we do have multiple methods for accessing the phone. Now, on the back of the device, we have a quad camera setup. So there's a 50 megapixel main camera, a 5 megapixel ultra wide angle camera that can capture images at up to 123 degrees, a 2 megapixel macro camera for close-up images, and a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera for portrait mode. And this phone does support portrait mode for both the rear and front cameras, so if you are a big fan of that feature with getting those nice blurred out backgrounds, then you certainly can do that here with the Galaxy A13. Now here's how things look on the camera app on the device. This is with the main camera right now. Then from here we can switch over to the ultra wide angle camera so that we can fit a lot more content into the frame. We can also then go over to the More tab and then access the macro camera to get very close up here. So you can see with the macro camera, we can indeed get close up here and have things be in really good detail. So that is a nice feature to have. We can also then go over to portrait mode to get those blurred out backgrounds. So we have this with both the rear camera, and then we can flip around to the front facing camera and do the same thing. So there's me right there. We do have portrait mode enabled right now. We also have another option here for group selfies. So it does crop out a little bit, making it easier to fit multiple people into the frame. And then we can also go over to the regular front-facing photo mode just to take a regular selfie. So despite the Galaxy A13 being a very low-end device from Samsung, I really appreciate that we do have so many different options for taking photos and videos as well by having so many different cameras here. So essentially, if you find yourself using all these various features, then that probably would give you a little bit more of a justification to go for a higher end device from Samsung in the future. But if you find yourself just doing the bare minimum with the various cameras and not really doing much in general with the device, then you really don't have a reason to get anything more capable or better. So I guess the point is that even though this is a low-end phone from Samsung, I do appreciate that they're still at least giving us a lot of different features so that you can get a better idea of what exactly you even need with your device. Now with this phone, we are getting 4 gigabytes of RAM paired up with the Samsung Exynos 850 processor. Now I don't expect too much from a device like this one, considering that it is very low end, and I'd imagine that in most situations, at many carriers, especially in the US, most people won't even be paying anything to get this phone. This phone likely will be offered for free if you're moving in from another carrier, for example. So with all that considered, it certainly wouldn't make sense for this phone to necessarily be that powerful, as it is very low end and entry level. Now with the Exynos 850 processor, it is at least good enough for navigating around the phone, sending text messages, doing some phone calls, and also doing some light social media consumption and also watching video. But if you are looking to do more high performance tasks such as high-end gaming, for example, or maybe you want to do video editing on your smartphone, then this phone certainly is not powerful enough for that. But I did run a Geekbench 5 benchmark test with the device, and I'll show you the score from that test right now. But I recommend running this test on your current phone and then compare these scores to your scores to get a better idea of how this phone even compares to what you currently have. Because it certainly is possible that your current phone could be faster than the Galaxy A13. But you can see here I did get a single core score of 148 and a multi-core score of 584. Now video recording with the Samsung Galaxy A13 does max out at 1080p with both the front and rear cameras. Again, for a really low-end device like this one, I really don't expect to get 4K video recording, so I suppose it's not really a big deal. But if that is a feature that you currently like to use in your current phone, then just know that you aren't getting that here with the A13. Now thankfully with the A13, we have a really large battery at 5,000 milliamp hours, and the device does support fast charging up to 15 watts. So definitely expect to get very good battery life with this device, and you'll at least get a full day of usage out of it. Now as far as software goes, this phone is running Android 12 with Samsung's One UI 4.1. Now this device, I believe, will get at least 2 years of major Android software updates. There's some other phones in the A series, such as the A53 for example, that will be getting even more updates. But essentially, it is nice that Samsung is going to be at least giving this phone multiple years of support, despite it being a very low-end device. So I certainly applaud them for that. Now, unfortunately, with this phone, there is no NFC. So if you do like to use NFC to make mobile contactless payments using tap and pay, then you can't do that here with this device. So that is pretty disappointing, as that is something that has caught on quite a bit in the last several years especially. But if that's something that's not important to you, then I suppose it's not really a problem. But taking a closer look at the hardware of the device, it is made completely out of plastic, besides the display of course, which is glass. On the left side of the phone, we have the slot for the microSD card and SIM card. Then on the right side of the phone, we have volume up, volume down, and also the power button, which also features the fingerprint sensor. Then up top here, we have the noise canceling microphone. And then on the bottom of the device, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, microphone, USB-C port for charging and data transfer, and the speaker. And then on the back of the phone, we have the camera module, Samsung logo, and that's pretty much it. Now this phone does feature a glossy back on it, and thanks to it being kind of a light blue color, it is a little bit difficult to see fingerprints on the phone, but it certainly does pick up fingerprints. I'm also not really too confident in the long-term durability of this plastic material, so in general, if you do end up buying a Galaxy A13, I do recommend pairing it up with a case, just to give your device a little bit more protection so you can get more longevity out of it. But in general, there's not too much exciting about the Galaxy A13, but at the same time, it is still a decent lower end budget device from Samsung. I'm definitely very curious to know if you currently have this phone, or if you're planning on getting it, or if maybe you have the A13 5G and you're just curious about how the 4G LTE model compares to that. Now, of course, as I mentioned, I will be comparing this device to a variety of other phones in future videos, so certainly hope that you're looking forward to that content. But this concludes my hands-on and first impressions video of the Samsung Galaxy A13. Thanks again for watching. This is Kevin here, and I will see you in the next video.